another interesting topic with all of you, sharing another interesting topic. I think this is something which many of you had requested. Many of you had also given a feedback that, okay, we want this topic to be covered as a part of this happy hours of coaching. And the topic is about product owner and product manager. Now, many times there's a confusion. Are these two roles same, or is there any fundamental difference between the two roles, right? So before I move ahead, just wanted a quick check. How many of you are currently playing the role of a product owner or a product manager? If you could just type in the chat box, that would be great. How many of you are playing the role of a product owner or a product manager? This is just to set the context and make sure that we know where to start from. Yes, anyone would like to answer that question? And yeah, welcome to the folks on LinkedIn Live, and also on YouTube, and also on the Facebook Live. So thanks everyone for joining. Yeah, how many of you are playing this role of a product owner or a product manager? Because I think this is where the confusion lies. Are these two roles same? Are these two roles different? And if different, what exactly are those two roles, right? Okay, no, I'm not asking about project manager. I'm asking product. There's a fundamental difference between a project and a product. So I'm not going to talk about project management in today's session. I'm going to talk about product. Some part of product management is what I'm going to talk about. But fundamentally, this session is to highlight the critical difference between a product owner and a product manager, because as I said, this is where it gets a little confusing. I will try to avoid any particular framework per se. I won't be going into details of any of the framework also. So just wanted to let all of you know. So I'm not going to talk about any particular framework, because I believe framework is something which is, in fact, whatever work we do, ultimately it has to be framework agnostic, right? It is our skills, whether you're working as an agile coach, whether you're working as a scrum master, or whether you're working as a product owner or a product manager, it is a skill which matters at the end of the day. What you bring to the table is what's going to matter, and which is going to help you understand these roles in detail. Okay, fair enough. If it is not clear, that's absolutely fine. I'm sure by the end of this session, the distinction or the difference between the two would be very apt, and it would be clear to everyone. All right. So brief about myself. Ashutosh Bhattodekar, working as an enterprise agile coach, a trainer, and a consultant. I've got a total of 21 years of experience in predominantly in transforming organizations from their traditional way of working into an agile way of working. These are my social media connects. If you want to connect with me, feel free to connect with me on social media. I also have a meetup group, Pune Agile Thought Leaders. I already talked about my YouTube channel, Agile Coaching and Transformation Leadership. And yes, I do have a Telegram group also, which actually allows you to connect with various other people and also look at the latest job openings which we publish there. Okay, so that's in brief about myself. In any case, I will be sharing these details post this session gets over. This is just to give you a quick glance about whom you're interacting with today evening. The session will be of predominantly two parts. First 30-35 minutes, you will be on mute. So right now, so if you try to unmute yourself, you won't be able to speak. But then after I complete my articulation, after I complete what I have in plan, it could take around 30-35 minutes roughly is what it takes. I will open the floor for any question and answers, right? So that is how it will be done, right? So with that, let us deep dive into what is a product owner, what is a product manager, and what is fundamentally the difference between the two roles. Okay, so who's a product owner? And those of you who work in a Scrum framework would be already knowing this about this role called as a product owner. Now, this person is someone who's accountable for maximizing the value. So whatever value, whatever product the team is designing, the product owner is responsible to ensure that the maximum value comes out of the work. So when a Scrum team is working on a product, the product owner will make sure that the most important item is being done in the beginning, and the least important item is being done at a later point in time. And the document which ensures this is a product backlog, right? All of you would be already aware of it. As I said, those of you are playing the role of a product owner or a Scrum master, they already would be aware about this, right? The product backlog, which is an ordered list of requirements. So the most important requirement will be on the top of the backlog. The least important requirement will be at the bottom of the backlog. And that's what we call it as a product backlog. And the person who owns this, the person who works towards it is a product owner, right? He or she person who will make sure that the right set of priorities are always kept in the product backlog. All right. The product owner is someone who works in communicating the product goal. Now, a lot of terminologies will be coming: product vision, product goal, right? Product roadmap. So a lot of terminologies will be coming, but don't worry about it. I'll try to demystify it, or I try to simplify it as we go along. Let us first take these terms as and when they're coming to us, right? So someone who will make sure that the product goal is communicated to all the stakeholders, making sure that the product backlog is in an ordered state. As I said, right, the most important item on the top, the least important item at the bottom, ensuring that the product backlog is something which is not hidden, but it is transparent, visible. It is transparent, visible, and it is understood by all, right? So this is not a document which will keep it in a secret, or which you will make it as a password protected document. This is a document which is visible to all the stakeholders, right? So that's the product backlog document which is there. There are different techniques of ordering the product backlog. You have the RICE model, RICE, reach, impact, confidence, and effort. That is one model of prioritization or ordering. Then we have the very famous Moscow method of prioritization: must have, should have, could have, and won't have. And then we have the Kano model of prioritization developed by Professor Noriaki Kano. So there's a video on my channel on the prioritization techniques, the product prioritization techniques. If you want to know about these techniques in detail, you can watch that video and you will know what these techniques are from RICE. In fact, there are a couple of more techniques mentioned in that. I have just listed here the three important ones: the Kano model, the Moscow method of prioritization, and third is the RICE model, which is there. All right. So this is what we call it as the product owner. This role is called as the product owner. And usually if you see a Scrum team, the Scrum team is working on developing the features, developing the user stories, and the Scrum team will be having a Scrum master and a product owner, right? So that is, so in a typical small team, let us say I'm developing a very small product, let us say a mini app, or let us say a small app which will just retrieve data from a website and display it in a format. For that kind of an app, I will be having a product owner, a Scrum master, and a group of people called as developers who will be working on this product, right? So that's the role of a product owner, what we call. And I'm sure many of you would be already aware, those of you who have done certification in product ownership, or if you would have done certification in Scrum Master, this is something which would have been covered in that certification. All right. Now, who is a product manager then? Yeah, I mean, this is something which we never, I mean, at least in a Scrum guide, there is no mention of this, right? There is a mention of this in a scaled agile framework, plus there is a mention of this in other frameworks. But as such, the product manager as a role is not mentioned there in the Scrum guide. Now, if you ask me personally, this is my view, what I'm going to tell, okay, the product manager is the CEO of the product, right? That is how I would classify the product manager. So as you can see, the product manager has got a strategic responsibility. The product manager has got a tactical responsibility, and the product manager has also got as the tertiary responsibility, which is there, right? So strategic responsibility is making sure that the product gives you a return on investment, right? So it gives you an ROI. Now, another mistake we make is we always equate ROI with money. There's also a social investment which you make and you get a return on this, right? So it basically is a document. I mean, the product manager is the person who makes sure that there is a ROI. So in order to bring about that ROI, the product manager might be doing some analytical techniques like NPV analysis, right? Or the product growth projections, how many customers I can add to this product over a period of time. So those are some of the calculations what the product manager would be doing. And the product manager would make sure that these calculations yield a positive outcome, based on which the product can be picked up, right? This product can be picked up from a development perspective. The product manager is someone who guides the product development process. I mean, I'm not saying that this person has to be a technical person, okay? But basically he builds what is called as a project vision. From project vision comes the product goal, and from product goal comes the roadmap, and from roadmap comes the release. I'll talk about this operating model in just a few moments from now. But this is the person. So this is a very, very strategic role. This is a very, very senior role. Someone who has been in the product management industry for a minimum of 15 to 18 years, I would say, would be the person who would be playing this role. And this person is the one who will decide, okay, what is the product vision? And in order to decide the product vision, this person will interact with the users, the actual real users of the product. The product manager will also make sure that what time the release has to be done, right? And imagine a situation where you are a product manager in a company like Apple. Once you have an internal commitment to the CEO, you have to live by that date, right? You cannot say that, no, now I will delay the product launch. No, it's a major embarrassment, right? When Apple announces a product that we will release this product on a particular date, they will have to honor that commitment, right? Because it's a huge embarrassment if they don't do that, right? So this is a person who calls for the releases, who defines when a version of the product needs to be released, and what are the features which will go into that release, which features will go, which features will not go into the release. So this is the role of a product manager, what we clearly see. So see in this picture from left-hand side to right-hand side, you have an entry-level product manager who is more like a product owner. But as and when he or she starts getting an experience, this person is going to earn more and more experience, more and more, I would say, more and more experience would be learned, and more activities this person would be doing, right? So that's the role of a product manager, which is there. Now, let me ask you this question. Has any one of you played this role in your career? Has any one of you really played this role, which is more of a strategic in nature, which is more interacting with the CIOs and the CXO level, CEOs and the CXO level is where this role interacts? Has any one of you played this role? Okay, let me see the chat for a moment. No. Okay, no. Okay, so for no, okay. Yeah, and I will be looking at a LinkedIn Live at a later point in time. Okay, I'll be looking at a LinkedIn Live as we move along, because obviously, as I said, right, I mean, this is not something which I can see parallelly, but definitely I'll be looking at the LinkedIn Live also as we go along. Yeah, right. So I'm sure anyone would have said yes on the LinkedIn Live. I'm not sure. But definitely this is a role. This is a role which is very, very strategic in nature, as you can see, right? It's not a tactical role. It's a very, very strategic role, what is there. Okay, now one important thing, as I said, right? One very, very important thing is many of us equate, and before I go ahead with the operating model, many of us equate value with money. I think everyone thinks value as money, right? I mean, if my product is actually giving a value, it is a monetization, what it is returning, right? I'm sure many of you think in that way, right? That you think that the value of a product is more in terms of money or the dollar value, what it gets. But as I said, it is not just money. There's more to money. Now, this is something very interesting. This is called as the value pyramid. This pyramid is called as the value pyramid. And why is it called as a value pyramid? Let us try to understand this. What is the significance of this pyramid, which is called as the value pyramid? The value pyramid basically says that, I mean, those of you who know the Maslow's hierarchy of need, Maslow hierarchy of need is a social theory, right? Which says that every human being has certain needs. Until and unless lower level needs are not satisfied, you don't really move ahead. So as a product manager, when I'm designing a product, it's not just the money which matters. There are 4 other dimensions which matter. Why a person buys a product? What is the reason for a person to go ahead with that product? One important reason at the lowest level is a functional need. So, let's say I want to find out what is the time. I don't have a wristwatch, so I go and buy a wristwatch. That is a functional element at the bottom of the pyramid, right? It will save time. Something to simplify. I want to write something, but at the same time, I know that there'll be a lot of corrections. So instead of buying a pen, I go and buy a pencil and an eraser. That is what we call it as a simplification need of that functional requirement, right? Likewise, there are many there, right? Quality. I need a good quality product, right? I need something which will avoid my effort, something which will avoid me doing the same task again and again, right? So those come under the functional needs of the product in this value pyramid. The second important thing is the emotional requirement. So I'll give an example of India. Because I have been a Maruti customer, the next car which I'm going to get is a Maruti car only. That's an emotional need, right? It reduces my anxiety. I know that, yeah, I mean, Maruti car, even if the spares, even if the car breaks down, the spares will be easily available at a local garage, right? I don't have to wait for, let's say, 10-15 days for the part to come. And at the same time, it has given me that comfort factor. It was there, this car was there with me in all the good things which have happened in my life, right? So there's an emotional attachment with this product. So even the next car I will go for will be a Maruti car or a Hyundai or a Ford car, right? Or nostalgia, some nostalgia element about this product. So I had bought this LG TV earlier, and now this TV has got damaged, but I'll go for LG only or Samsung only, whatever may be your brand preference. So that is an emotional angle why people attach to a product. The third is life-changing angle. It provides some hope. This product is going to provide some hope. It is provide some motivation. It is going to give me that confidence. The best example for this can be COVID vaccine, right? I mean, especially in last 2 years, when we were all out of hope, suddenly this product comes more than the money. I'm going to take the vaccine because it is life changing. Assuming that all of us are in favor of taking a vaccine, so I will go and take the vaccine because it is a life changing event for me, right? It's a matter of life and death. Tomorrow, if COVID-19 tablets come in over the counter, I'll be the first one to go and buy it because that is a motivation. It gives me an affiliation, belongingness, or it gives me that hope. It provides me that hope. So that is a life changing experience what you have. And the top one is the social impact, social transcendence or self-transcendence or self-transcendence, as we say. This product has got wider ramifications. It has become an ingrained part of my life, like what has happened with WhatsApp to us. At least in India, I can vouch that it has become a product. In fact, if you don't see a WhatsApp for 1 hour, I'm sure you will be restless. What's happening around, right? What's happening in my family, the groups. I'm talking more from a family groups perspective, right? So that is a product which has got a social impact, which influences the opinion, which influences the social fabric, right? So all those things are the 4 dimensions or the elements of a value approach. So it's wrong to assume that as a product manager, I will only think about, yes, I'm not saying that you will go for an unprofitable product line and start developing something as a product which will burn fingers later on, burn cash later on. But apart from the ROI, this analysis is also important, that which segment is your product catering to? Is it catering to the emotional needs of the customers, or let's say functional, emotional, life-changing, or social impact? So what are the 4 dimensions where this product is actually hitting? And based on that, you will be able to come out with a product vision. You will be able to come out with a product goal, product roadmap, and you'll be able to then come out with a good quality product. All right, moving ahead, let us move ahead and let us go to the next important thing, which is the operating model. Now, if I want to position these product owners and product managers, where exactly they will position themselves in a transformation. And this is a use case which I'm showing it from one of my transformation. Okay, it's not based, I mean, yes, you will see some similarities. I've done a lift and shift from some of the frameworks. I've picked up the elements from X framework and a Y framework, and I've tried to mix and match it. But this is something which I had used in one of the transformation as a coach. I mean, my role was that of a coach. Okay, I was not a product manager or a product owner in that transformation, neither a scrum master. I was more of an enterprise agile coach in that transformation. It was for one of the BFSI clients where we had come out with this operating model, which I'm going to show it to you in the next slide. Okay, so what does this operating model talks about? Yeah, it looks a little spread out on the slide. It has occupied almost the entire space, real estate on the slide. But let me try to decipher you piece by piece, right? And if you see on the right-hand side, you have that a palette of roles, right? Who's typically working in each of the sections. So primarily three roles: the product manager, the product owner, and a release train engineer or the chief scrum master. Now, this is where some elements of a safe, you will see, obviously, I have lifted and shifted, as I said earlier, in this particular unique transformation. Now, the product vision is at the top, and this is crafted by the product manager. It is nothing but the overarching vision of the product, and it stays till the product is in the market. So today also, whether you take Facebook, whether you take Instagram, whether you take, let us say, Uber or Ola app, or let us say any of the apps, let's say Amazon app, the product vision is still there, right? The product vision will be still there. It might have undergone some change, but not a major change to bring about a complete upheaval, right? So that is a product vision which is there. And then the product vision will tell you, give me that horizon, that entire horizon. Where do I see that product going in? Let's say, and there could be a short-term horizon, maybe 6 months to 8 months. Then there could be a medium-term horizon from 8 months to, let's say, 16 months. And then maybe a long-term horizon from 16 months to 24 or 36 months. So that's the vision which I have, right, about the product. The product vision was crafted into a product goal, right? And this is nothing but, again, a future state, but a little granular. So it's like traveling in an aircraft. When an aircraft takes off, it reaches a stable height of 35,000 feet, right? And then maybe it stays there for maybe a couple, let's say it's a 2-hour flight, it stays there for 1 hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes roughly. And slowly it starts landing to the destination airport. So product vision is at maybe that 35,000 feet, but product goal is something more closer. Maybe at 20, 25,000 feet is the product goal, which is at basically nothing but the future state of the product, which the agile teams will target for. Okay, so both the things, the product vision and the product goal in this particular engagement was done by the product manager. Okay, and in fact, it was not just one product manager. It was a group of 3 to 4 product managers. They formed what is called as the product management team. It's always a team which comes in there. I've just, from a simplicity perspective, I have mentioned one role there, but it's actually a product management team which we have there. Okay, the product goal got, then the backlog got created, and I'm trying to make it a little simplified. There was a backlog even before the product backlog. I mean, we didn't have any name for it, but if you go by the scaled agile framework, there's something called as a portfolio backlog in a scaled agile framework, but this was not a pure scaled agile implementation, as I said. So purposely, we did not name it. There was definitely a backlog which existed at this level, but we actually made it more like a rough, sketchy backlog which was there. So definitely there was a backlog here also. I'm not saying that there was no backlog here, but the crux which came out, or the MVP of the backlog, if I were to say, came out, was the product backlog which came out first. Okay, and so once our product goal was crafted, the product backlog came out, and this is where the product owner started playing a very crucial role. So between that junction point of product goal and product roadmap, the product management team and the product owner started working very, very closely together with each other, right? So it's not just that the product owner will get a ready-made features which he or she will convert into user stories and make it ready for the sprint which is starting. I'm telling you typically what happens before the movie starts, before our Scrum movie starts. What exactly is happening, a precursor to this. It's like telling you that, okay, how a film is actually shot, right? Actual film is the sprint, but how the film is shot or before pre-sprint activities is what I'm trying to highlight here. So product backlog is a ordered list of requirement, as we said earlier. And this was something which was worked upon by the product owner and the product management team per se, and they came out with a product roadmap. Now, what is a product roadmap? It's a single source of truth which basically connects your vision goal with the actual activities. So product roadmap is where we actually hit the road, right? Where we actually now can see a visibility where the rubber hits the road. That is what I would say, where we see now, okay, this is now the picture is becoming clearer. So probably next 6 months, this is what I can expect. The next 14 to 16 months, this is what I can expect from my product. And next 18 months or 24 months horizon, these are the things what I'll be getting as a part of this product roadmap which is there. So that is what is a roadmap. Roadmaps, again, I have purposely given two formats there. It can be used in any of the formats. Now, after this roadmap comes what is called as the release planning activity, where we have the chief scrum master or a release train engineer working with the product ownership team, working with the product manager to come out with that release planning. So in SAFe, it is called as a PI planning or a program increment planning. If you're not using SAFe or Scaled Agile framework, you can call it as a release planning, right? So release, irrespective of the fact, I mean, you could have any different names to it, but the important thing is you have to translate that product roadmap into a release roadmap or a release vision. We also had a release backlog there, but I have not mentioned it there purposely. But we translated into a release backlog into a team backlog. So that's the level in which this went out. So critical roles which are playing activities here is a product manager who's crafting the product vision and the product goal. The product owner, once the goal is crafted, you'll see the product owner working with the product management team in crafting the product backlog. And then once the product backlog and the roadmap is created, the product owner and the RTE or the chief scrum master, they will be working together in coming out with the release planning strategy and coming out with the release plan, right? A release plan itself is a two-day event similar to the PI planning, which is what we did in this engagement. So this model is trying to contextualize the two important roles for which we are here today, the product manager role and the product owner role. This picture or this model is trying to contextualize this. I call it as an operating model because this is exactly how the teams operated. Yes, we did have communities of practices built over a period of time in this transformation, like a community of scrum masters, then community of practice for product owners, community of practice for architects. I mean, that is, so this is actually a three-dimensional model. Okay, there is also an axis which cuts across this, which is not visible right now. Right, it is just the front face which is being seen here, but there's a three-dimensional to this model, where actually there on the third axis you have the other roles which are there, like architects, business analysts, etc., which are playing system team, etc., which is on the third axis, which is there. Since I've just represented it in a two-dimensional model. All right, moving ahead. So how does a product manager create this vision? What are the tools which are used for creating this vision? One of the very popular tools is by Roman Pichler. This is where it has come from, the product vision board. And I'm not again going into the details of it, maybe a separate session for this. How is a product vision built? You have the vision of the product, what is the target group, what are their needs, what product we are trying to build, and what are the short-term, medium goals and medium-term and the long-term goals which we are going to develop. So that is a product vision board, what we see here. Again, there can be multiple templates. The best way to use is a Miro or a mural board. So those of you who would have used a Miro or a mural board know that many of these templates are available in that board, and you can start crafting this in using this these templates which are there. Okay, how is a product goal crafted? Now, of course, we have crafted the vision. From vision to the product goal. One of the, I mean, what is a product goal? As I said, a product goal is a single source of truth. It's an overarching, I mean, it's a goal which will tell you what is the target which my agile team has to plan against. And the product backlog is basically coming out of the product goal. So it is at a high level than a product backlog. And it is basically, there are different techniques of doing it. But one technique which has been used very recently is the OKR technique, objectives and key results. So you can also use a OKR model for crafting a product goal. And this is just one of the templates of OKR, which I have put in here, but there are many other templates which will help you to craft your product goal as such, right? So that's one of the techniques which we have, which is the product OKR, objectives and key results. I mean, if you want to know more about OKR, you can read about this model. Intel was the first company to pioneer this way back in 70s. And of course, it went on across various organizations where this model has become very popular. But we used it for our product goal crafting, right? Objectives, what are the objectives of the product? What are the key results? When do we say that the objectives have been met? All right. So this is a technique. This is one of the techniques which we can use for product goal crafting. Product roadmap. Yeah, what is a roadmap? One product goal will have multiple roadmaps, right? And as you can see, this roadmap is really as arduous, as strenuous as you can see in this picture here, right? So this is where the rubber hits the road, as I said, right? How is this product going to be developed? What is the MMP and the MVP which is going to be developed, right? So it gives that direction. It gives the why part of it, right? It is like saying that, okay, now I have decided to start my journey in the car. So now let me start putting in the luggage into the boot. Let me take water bottle with me. Let me take food items with me. Let me take some picnic items with me. So now in next 15-20 minutes, I'm going to start the journey. And the roadmap is what will tell me what is the journey which I'm going to take. And believe me, it's not a smooth road. And that's the reason why I have put in this picture. It is more of a very, very arduous and a strenuous journey through which all the critical stakeholders will be going, right? So this is a product roadmap. Just to remind you, as per the operating model, roadmap is the stage where there's an interface between a product manager and a product owner, right? So the product owner will also be one of the key stakeholders in crafting the product roadmap. All right, moving ahead. Yeah, some sample roadmap. I mean, there are various templates available. I'm not going into each of those templates. Many of those are available on Mural and a Miro board. You can go and have a look at these templates. So it is based on the timeline, as you can see, right? I mean, of course, this is more like a WBS. This is not really a roadmap what has been constructed, but this is more like a WBS, like what the web team is going to do, what the mobile team is going to do, what the digital team or the marketing team is going to do on a timeline which is there. But there are other formats of a sample roadmap also, which will give you that vision, which will tell you, okay, what exactly you can expect. What is it that you can expect in the next quarter? Or usually we go by quarterly option. It's always better to go by quarterly, or if you align it with the quarter end and the year end, then it becomes a little easier to do this road mapping exercise. Okay, and yeah, so roadmap basically will help you. Roadmap will basically help you to come out with that visualization, right? It will help you to come out with that visualization. And from roadmap, you then create a release plan, right? And obviously, I have not gone into the details of the release plan because that I think everyone knows, right? That I think everyone here knows that, okay, what is a release? A release is a container of sprints. Within a release, you have a release planning activity, or if it is a PI program increment, there's a PI planning activity which goes on for 2 days. Every team has got a team backlog. The team will come out with the team PI objectives, which will be linked to the main PI objectives. And then the sprints will start. So once the release starts, my release might contain 4 sprints, or it might contain 6 sprints. And it might, and at the end of each release, I have to do a system demo. I have to do a demo to the critical stakeholders. So here also, at the end of each sprint, you will be doing a sprint demo. But at the end of the release, you will be creating an MMP. As you can see, those boxes, those will be the different MMPs or the minimum marketable product, what you will be taking ahead, right? So this is what I wanted to cover. Just to tell you, I mean, one last slide before I go ahead. If you are using a scaled agile framework, and this is of course a picture which is picked up from the scaled agile website, you see 2 roles here also, like a product management team, which I'm highlighting here, which is more at, I would say, at a higher level, right? The product management team is responsible for what in SAFe they call it as a program backlog. I did not use that word. Okay, program backlog. In my transformation, we did not have it, but in scaled agile framework, they have a program backlog. And then at every team level, they have a product owner, scrum master, and a team. And they have a team backlog at each of the team level. Of course, that is what the nomenclature SAFe uses. But I fundamentally always believe that, at least in my experience as a coach, I have never done a kind of a replica, exact replica of this picture, right? There are always those minuses and pluses what we do, and you have to contextualize this model when you implement it in an organization. So yes, definitely the model which I showed you earlier, the operating model, was a contextualization from SAFe. Some elements we did pick up from SAFe or Scaled Agile framework, but there are still some elements which were uniquely crafted for that particular transformation. Yeah. So just on that last note, product management is something which is there in SAFe, Scaled Agile Framework. The product owner is also there. You do have an RT, which we also had the release train engineer. And yes, I mean, if you want to know more about this model, you can go on Scaled Agile Framework website. The literature is available for free there. You can read about it. What is the role of a product manager? What is the role of a product owner? And what differences do these two roles play? Or what are the critical differences these two roles play in the transformation, right? So that is what you can have a look at it in detail. I'm not going into the details of this. I did cover one of the sessions in Happy Hours of Coaching as a part of a release train engineer, what a release train engineer does in the project, right? So on that note, I will like to take a pause here and open up the floor for any question and answers if there are any. Okay, so now you can unmute yourself and you can ask if there are any question and answers related to the topic. Yeah. And those of you who are on LinkedIn Live and YouTube, you can post your questions. I will answer it in an offline mode. Yeah. Anyone, any questions? You can unmute yourself, and it's okay if you can also come on a camera if that is fine with you. Yeah. Anyone, any questions? Please unmute.
Yeah, hi Ashutosh, Nitin here.
Yeah, hi Nitin. Yeah, hello.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for the wonderful session. Okay, just to summarize my understanding, so there are two things. One is about the strategy, and other one is about the execution, and both are equally important. And
Correct.
specifically, when we want to deep dive into strategy, this is where the project manager role comes into picture. And when we want to get into reality, that is transforming that strategy into measurable, tangible business outcome. Okay, this is where the product owner's role comes into picture. Is this correct?
So product manager is at a strategy level, product owner is at an execution level. Yes, correct.
So the product owner's job is to transform that strategy into measurable, tangible outcome.
That is my viewpoint, which I put forward in this 1 hour. Again, people might have differing opinions on this, but definitely in the transformation, which the operating model of which I showed, the product manager was at a strategic level, and he was a pretty senior person, and the product owner was more at a tactical level, right? I mean, you take any example, right? You take an army example. There's a strategy which is being planned for an operation, and there's an actual execution which happens at the ground. Now, again, these two, there's a strategic plan, there's a tactical plan. Similarly, here we have a strategic plan, we have a tactical plan, and both have to handshake with each other. If there's no handshake, then there will be a disconnect between what the strategy says and what is getting executed at the ground level.
Yeah, that's very true. There's no doubt to it. Yeah, thanks. Just thought of checking with my understanding. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah, anyone else? Any questions?
Yeah. Okay. I do have one more question, Ashutosh. Balaji here.
Yeah, hi Balaji.
Yeah, hi. No, from a real-time implementation point of view, no, like from your perspective, whom you think they are closer to the end users or the clients? Is it the product manager or the product owner? Just wanted to know your perspectives.
Okay, so I mean, if you want to know about this particular transformation, it was the product manager which was there. But many times I've also seen the product owner is also closer to the user. I mean, I've seen that happening. But in this particular case, it was the product manager.
Okay, because in some of the cases, what I have seen is product manager will be interacting with the business sponsor and someone from the end user side, more from a strategy level, as you had rightly mentioned. Whereas product owner will actually cascade that particular objectives closer to the ground level execution to the team. Maybe a kind of it.
Okay. Yeah, that also happens. But see, the problem in that model would be, I don't know, I mean, I've not seen that model in detail, but the problem in that model will be that the product manager will talk about something in the air then. I mean, if the product manager is not aware what's happening at the ground level, right? I mean, there are variations to this model also. I've also seen the product owners having a reporting line with the product managers also. That also I've seen many times, that they report to the product manager. In that case, the product manager knows what's happening at a ground level. But if product owners are getting the feeds from the end users, or I would say the people who are going to use the product, but if they're not passing upwards, then it will be a problem.
Yeah, Ashutosh. Okay, fine then. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Balaji. Yeah. Anyone else? Any questions? Okay. Yeah, and feel free to switch on your cameras if you're okay.
Hi, this is Bhavik.
Sorry, who? Sorry, can I have your name?
Bhavik.
Bhavik. Okay. Bhavik. Yeah. Bhavik. Go ahead. Yeah.
First of all, thank you for your time and for understanding us about the operating model, product manager roles, and product owner roles. I have actually missed some of the part, maybe because I have joined late. But I wanted to know mostly with the example of when there would be like a product roadmap meetings would be happen, or product high definition meetings would be happen regarding the requirements, and the difference between the product backlog items when they are prioritizing the things, right?
So you're asking when will the product vision and the goal be crafted?
Yes. So I just wanted to know that how the transition happens, if with the example.
Okay. See, normally what happens is the visioning and the goal exercise happens pretty early. I would say at least a minimum 1.5, 2 months before the engagement starts. And then what happens is once we get a sign off on this product, that yes, I talked about that value pyramid, right? I mean, from a value pyramid angle, from a ROI perspective, the product is a green lighting product to go ahead with. Then the interface, or then the meetings happen between the product manager and the product owner. Then that knowledge transfer session, or then that handoff session happens between the product manager and the product owner, so that the product owner can start creating a backlog and a roadmap around it. But yes, it needs to. So a product vision and a product goal has to be green light. They call it as a green lighting process, which means the ROI is positive ROI. Those dimensions related to the emotion angles of the product are taken into account. And once done, then that knowledge transfer between the PM, the product manager, and the product owner happens.
Understood. And wanted to know that whether during this transition, Scrum Master needs to pitch in over here in case the product owner doesn't have much clarity about the prioritizing and importance of splitting the requirements.
Good question. I would say, I would put it in a different way. Definitely, Agile Coach is needed in that situation. You need an Agile Coach in that situation to coach the product manager and product team. So I have another video. I think I have that video on basically the value matrix. Maybe I will share that link with you. So that talks about it. That unfortunately, what we do is we take the Agile Coach only in the middle part. I'll quickly show you that slide. 1 minute. Okay. I'll try to pull that slide up meanwhile as we discuss. So what unfortunately happens is we tend to think about an Agile Coach only in the middle of the transformation. But what is really needed is you need an Agile Coach right from day one, right? So right from day one, you need that Agile Coach, and which is where it is required. Okay, let me try to pull that slide quickly for you in a moment, and then it will be clear what I'm trying to take. But yeah, I mean, definitely you need an Agile Coach much more earlier in the day than what you can think of. So you need that person to be there pretty much early during the day. Yeah, 1 minute. I'm just pulling it up. This is this model is something which I've explained earlier also in one of the. In fact, I've written an article also on this on DZone. You can go and read that article. 1 minute. I'm just trying to get that slide quickly. Yeah. Meanwhile, you can ask any questions, any other questions before that slide comes up.
Yeah, I think I'm done with the questions.
Okay. Wait a minute. I'll just show that slide to you in a moment. That is coming up. It is now there. Okay. So what I was talking about was this slide. Okay, this is somewhat related, linked with that operating model. Value generation. See, tower B is where we generally use an Agile Coach. We ask an Agile Coach, or we expect, or I should not say ask, we expect the Agile Coach to train. We expect the Agile coach to train people from a traditional way of development to a waterfall way of development. Then we identify a few metrics. So as an Agile coach, we identify a few metrics. But the real value comes in when an Agile coach is placed in that value identification, shift right on shift left. So shift left means he or she works with the product manager in identifying the value drivers, prioritizing the value drivers, getting the funds approved for those value drivers. And then definitely 4, 5, 6 is a job of an Agile coach. But I say that I would say that an Agile coach should shift leftwards and work with the product manager and the product owners in this stage. And then after 6 also, he or she should work in 7, 8, 9, which is validating whether the value has been delivered or not, suggesting them, coaching them to enhance the value, and finally making them to refine the value, right? In case any feature needs an upgrade or a feature needs a change, refining that value. So this is a model which I was talking about, which is what you brought into account. So yes, definitely when we are in that top 2 pieces of the operating model, product visioning and product product goal, and then product road mapping, definitely the coach will be required there. So definitely that picture would need an Agile coach in transformation.
Thank you so much. It was helpful.
Thanks. Yeah. Maybe one last question anyone has. Yeah, and I promise back to LinkedIn folks and YouTube folks and Facebook folks that I will answer back your questions. Meanwhile, just a quick reminder, those of you who are not aware, there's a YouTube channel where there are more than 94 videos now, I think. Definitely these will help you in your Agile coaching journey, in your learning, in your interviews. So do watch those videos. They are there. I've shared the link with you. Do subscribe to the channel and get benefited out of it. Okay. Yeah, Suresh, go ahead. Suresh, you had a question?
No, Ashutosh.
Okay. Fine, then I think we are good to wrap up this session. So once again, thanks all for joining. It was wonderful interacting with all of you. Next Friday, of course, the session won't be happening because it's a festival of Holi, the festival of colors. So most probably we'll be having the session now on 25th, and it may not be me, so that you don't get bored always hearing me out. We are trying to get a speaker for the session on 25th. So wishing you a happy and a colorful Holi festival in India in advance, and see you all in a couple of weeks time from now. So bye for now, and take care and stay healthy. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Thank you.
Also very happy Holi. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.